left, right.
Yo, what's up? Thank you for watching SipTalk. Today we are talking about Meghan Markle, what's going on in Britain, what's going on with Brexit, just kind of current events and news, but obviously sparked by what's going on with Meghan Markle. Crazy news. Either way, if you don't want attention, probably interviews with Oprah aren't going to help you. But either way, listen on, let us know what you think. I'll see you on the other end. This is SipTalk. Grab a drink and enjoy.
Process go.
Cheers.
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 We are live on the air for Sip Talk, episode 83. My name is Justin DiGiulio. I'm a real estate broker in New York City. I'm with James the Bosnator Boswell, professional accountant.
I laugh every single time you say that.
Professional accountant, professional referee, calling the shots, bartender, and philosopher. A man of many distinctions. And I wanted to start out a little bit today on the Meghan Markle thing. I don't know if you're following this. I'm not following it. I can't escape it. And, scrolling through a Twitter feed the other day, trying to figure out like what, because when I get bored, I think everybody does. They get bored, they go to social media and then they just scroll through, but it's not fulfilling. Yet it's what you go for when you are bored. So it's this weird kind of unfulfilling, empty calorie type cycle. And, that's what I was trying to figure out. Like, how can I get this shit off? Like, I don't, I'm sure if I had an interest in this Meghan Markle royalty thing, I might read the article, but I don't need to be reminded of every three stories. Are you familiar with any of this that's going on?
It's consumed my life for the last 3 days. I
think-
haven't been able to work. All I've been doing is just watching coverage of it.
Oh, you're not the only one.
All right, well,
But it's again, it's somebody playing this victim card, and I feel bad for her. I, to a degree, she's in a difficult situation. She's in a difficult position. She's obviously dating a prince of England, and
she signed up for it.
well, we'll get there. So, but she is of mixed race, and she's dating a prince of England who is about as white as it gets. I think he has reddish hair, right?
Yeah, no. When you think English royalty, it's about as white as you can possibly get.
Yeah. Well, and he started dating this girl, Meghan Markle, who happens to not just be any girl, but an American girl, and he's British royalty, and not just any American girl, but a girl living the American dream, an actress. So, my thinking was she's not a normal girl, and he's not a normal guy. And they're from abnormal circumstances, something you kind of have to recognize early on in the relationship. Yet, her being somewhat public of a personality in the U.S., she signed up with arguably one of maybe the top 5 most public men in England. And England's a big country. It has a lot of.
Who would be above him?
Well, his older brother.
Okay.
Or the queen, or maybe
top 5 men.
Yeah, but okay, but again, there's some actual people in government, that might get a little more attention, but now she's. So basically, she's saying, she wants privacy. She feels her life's under scrutiny all the time. Yet she's giving these interviews. And that's what's a bit twisted for me. I know maybe she wants to set the record straight, but again, if privacy is what you're looking for and being out of this spotlight is what you're looking for, I don't think the means in which she is choosing is probably the best means.
No.
And so, but also, I was thinking the other day that just the concept of everybody being a victim now of everything. Literally everything that's out there. is hurting people. Words are now more hurtful than sticks and stones, et cetera, et cetera. Um, but then I'm thinking like, well, if everybody's a victim, then nobody's a victim.
Well, right, yeah, it's everyone's special, no one's special.
But it's just if we all have these outside forces, humans are very adaptable species. It's kind of how we've risen to be able to kill the animals that in nature could kill us. We can adapted to the adversity that we. I need a fucking drink. But we've grown and adapted to these things, and now we are becoming such pussies that we're losing this kind of adaptability, and we're definitely regressing. What are you drinking down there?
So I am double fisting a glass of red wine and the traditional but bush ice.
Red wine and bush ice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. I got a little vodka 7-Up Zero Sugar.
What is that, Belvedere?
It is an old bottle of Belvedere. I keep it around. I put it somewhere out in Christmas time.
I'm pretty impressed that I was able to recognize that bottle from like six frames in it and like blurry.
Well, I have one like this and one that's red, so it looks like a nice holiday bottle. So I take them out in the holidays. I happen to be down here in the bar that's in the basement, so that's what I'm drinking. Cheers to that. Cheers to Meghan Markle. I honestly, let me take a sip here.
Well, while you're taking a sip, one thing that really stuck out to me, and I couldn't bring myself to watch or follow any of the news related to the royal interview with Oprah, because honestly, who the fuck cares? But there was a picture where the two royals are sitting on one side, and there's Oprah on the other at some like idyllic villa, God knows where. And you've got a billionaire lady interviewing 2 millionaires who are royalty. And the topic is oppression.
Fair enough. Now, look, I don't have any issue with Meghan. I don't have any issue with British royalty. I don't have any issue with Oprah. I don't wish them any ill will. But
that's not what I'm saying.
I get that. And I just want to make it very clear. But I do want to have a conversation about this, given the current climate that we're in, where everybody is a victim. What's going on with Cuomo. And I guess they just canceled somebody else, Pepe Le Pew. Pepe Le Pew, the horny little skunk that chases down the other skunk.
Yeah, he's French.
I guess he's off the air just for being too horny and pushy and rapey.
I thought it was just because he smelled.
I mean, that would be another reason too. But
if you smelled that bad, how else are you gonna get laid?
But yeah, fair enough. But I think exactly what you're saying. You have these people that are. I think really it takes a certain amount of ignorance to achieve blissfulness, and being
yeah, that's the saying.
Exactly. Ignorance is bliss, meaning that there's a lot of shit that's going to go on. You have to turn a blind eye to it. I was so you ever listen to Billie Eilish?
I've heard her music from time to time, but that's the extent of it.
Dude, it's fucking awesome. I thought like I discovered her like a year and a half ago, and then I like started turning on the radio and like listening more. I'm like, oh shit, everybody knows about her. Awesome music, really, really incredible artist. Fuck, I lost my train of thought. Oh, so she was super young, and there was just a documentary about her that came out. She has Tourette's, and she's also a very good performer, but she's super young. So I guess she was like 14 when they started the documentary, basically, when she started kind of becoming a bit more famous with music. And I think she's like 16 or 17 right now. And she's had a run for the last few years. So she's had a pretty good run. Very famous.
It's tough to handle fame at that age. Well, you just don't know what to do with it.
Exactly. I think she suffered watching the documentary. She definitely like suffers. It's very difficult, like when you have literally everything and yet nothing feels right or normal, and it's a weird, especially adolescence is a weird place to go through kind of crazy changes and an intense, insane amount of pressure on you. Very few other people and even the other people who the pressure is on, they're turning that pressure and mirroring it right back towards you. She's got a lot, but either way, we watch her like take a permit test, and we watch her get her license, and then she gets her dream car, which I think was like a matte black Dodge Challenger or something like that. I don't know. It's a cool looking car. Definitely not my car of choice. Way too big. And her father watches her drive off, and her father makes some comment. Now I got to figure out where I was going with this a little bit back, but he makes some comment along the lines of the other day that he was worried for his daughter. And he said the other day he took a sip of water and choked. And, for a split second, he thought he was going to choke to death. And his eyes started watering. It started spurting out of his nose. And he said something along the lines of, we are literally running on luck. Like everything we do, just driving normally, you're just getting lucky that the other cars don't swerve out of their lanes. And if you focus on the things that you could be afraid of, you would be paralyzed with inability to do anything. And it was very difficult for him to let his daughter drive out of the driveway, but he did it when he was younger. Her mother did it when she was younger. That's just part of being a person. And yet it's a very difficult thing to say is here, you're a fucking rock star, can pretty much do anything you want. And as far as any kid, when they turn 16 and get those keys and can drive alone, every kid is a rock star in their own mind. But this is an actual rock star. And to say you have basically no limits except for the ones you impose on yourself, very, very difficult position to be in. How was I going to loop that back to Meghan Markle? Did you see where I was going with that one?
No, I was hoping that you were going somewhere with this.
Fucking A. Shit, but just, I don't know, just about having issues and having everything. And, that was ignorance is bliss. You have to ignore the fact that you're literally just running on luck, and your luck could change any second. I think I've been doing more driving in the last 5 months than I've probably done in the last 5 years, because I'm driving pretty much every day for an hour and a half to 2 hours a day. Whereas I was taking
takes you that long to get to and from the city?
It's 40 minutes basically door to door, which isn't too bad, but it can be an hour and a half if traffic is backed up in one of the tunnels, or there's an accident that happened right along. Somebody rear-ended somebody who rear-ended the person in front of them alongside of me. And I was just terrified somebody was going to swerve into my lane. But I'm so much more aware now that I'm driving all the time as an older person, when it's been nearly a decade since I had to drive daily. Probably over a decade when I lived in Charleston, because New York City is not a driving city. And even if you're driving, my commute to and from the office by car was 15 blocks. So that wasn't very far. So I'm doing a lot of driving, and there's just an insane amount of luck. And ignorance is how you're not going to be freaking out the entire time you're driving. You just have to ignore the fact that you are riding on luck, and you have to live.
So you're getting really close to a philosophical concept called absurdism.
Oh, you don't say. And you don't like your introduction?
No, I like my introduction.
Okay, good.
It's that it makes me laugh every single time, mostly just for the nickname you've given me.
Well, I like the nickname too.
I'm not complaining about it. It's hilarious. But Camus, French existentialist philosopher, wrote a book called The Myth of Sisyphus. And so he
was a guy with the itchy crotch, right?
I have no idea.
All right. They named that STD after him?
Camus?
No, syphilis?
No, Myth of Sisyphus.
I know.
That's a Greek.
But I'm explaining it. You didn't get it.
I know.
Right.
Well, for those,
there's no relation, Sisyphus and syphilis.
Yeah, for those who are listening who don't know the myth of Sisyphus, basically Sisyphus was a Greek noble that made bets with the gods and then kind of cheated to win, and he tried to deceive the gods, and so the gods, as punishment, initially sent him down to Hades, and then I think it was Nyx, I don't know, whoever ran Hades, he deceived him to get out of Hades and back up to the earth. And
Smart
so
guy,
finally the
yeah.
gods all got together and said, all right, fuck this guy. Like, he's made a fool of all of us. What's the worst possible punishment we can give? And so the punishment that they gave to Sisyphus was he had to push a boulder from the bottom of a hill to the top of a hill. And as soon as he was able to get the boulder to the top of the hill, his punishment was complete. And I don't know but like his punishment would be over as soon as he could get the boulder to the top of the hill. And the gods designed it in such a way that every single time he pushes the boulder up the hill, at some point, something's going to happen to cause him to slip and lose his grip or whatever, but the boulder will never reach the top of the hill. He will just make it a little bit further every single time, and then the boulder will come crashing back down and he has to start it all over again. And so whenever people talk about a Sisyphean task, it's the idea of trying to make progress towards something and never being able to complete it.
Sounds like me playing video games.
Yeah.
Which is basically why I've given up on them.
And so Camus wrote a book called The Myth of Sisyphus, where he builds towards talking about this Greek myth. But the main part of his argument is that life is a fundamentally absurd thing to do. And he opens up the book saying that the only philosophical question worth asking is that of suicide. Is it worth living? Because no other question matters if you can't answer that one. Are you willing to continue to keep living? Until you have a good answer for that, there's no point in asking any other question. It says, once you say what life is worth living, then the next big question is, why, when everything we do is so fundamentally absurd? And going along with your talk about how everything we do is just luck. So that's really close to what Camus was saying, is like, we just go about doing things just because, like, it's absurd, but we do them anyways. And we continue on with our lives, even though we don't know what the meaning is, because we don't know any better.
Fair enough. Yeah. I like
so
that.
he's just like, you push on in the face of absurdity because you're searching for meaning, and the act of living is what gives you meaning, and you find meaning through your actions.
Fair. That's cool. I like that. And I mean, that fair enough. Good one. I like that. I was going to get keep going in this deep realm and try to figure out what the meaning of life is, but I really don't think there is one.
Existentialism would say the meaning of life is what you choose it to be.
Exactly. And that's it's not one meaning of life. There's multiple depending on what it is I don't know what you make it to be.
Which to some people is terrifying, because you mean I can be anything? Oh, shit. Now I have to figure it out. I was hoping that somebody was going to tell me.
Well, a lot of people, I think, don't do anything because they're paralyzed by options, or just lack of motivation or procrastination. Who knows?
Oh, speaking of, famous psychological study about options and paralysis of choice. So in two different grocery stores, they take jams, like raspberry jam, grape jam, all those things, right?
Okay.
In one store, they've got kind of like a free sample thing of like.
I'm pretty sure I'm familiar with this, but go ahead.
Yeah. So in one store, they've got two free samples. We'll say raspberry jelly and grape jelly. You walk up, hey, you want to try this? Sure. Here's the raspberry. Here's the grape. Do you like either of these? Cool. And then the people would have the choice as to whether or not they wanted to buy either of the two, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the other store, they had the same kind of display set up, but instead of two choices, it was like 10. Like, we got raspberry, we got strawberry, we got grape, we got peach, etc.
Yeah.
And same thing, you can try any of the ones that you want, and then afterwards, oh, you like any of these? Cool. Would you like to buy one? And what they found was that the people were much more likely to buy one of the two products in which of the two stores? The one with the two choices or the 10 choices?
Well, the one with the fewer choices, because it's an easier decision to make. This is something that we cover a lot in sales training when it comes to apartments. And not that you want to limit people's options, but you want to do some fact finding beforehand so that you can eliminate some of the options that you don't think they're going to like. You want to provide them with the best options for them, but I mean, exactly. That's a very interesting study. I think a lot of people are fully unaware of the basically people's decision making.
Well, you get overwhelmed because
Yeah,
if you've got
it
two
becomes
choices,
a
you
more
can say,
difficult
I
decision.
like this one better than the other one. I'm going to take this one. But if you have 10 choices, you can say, well, this one was a little bit sweet, but this other one had this nice sour note, and this other one was a little more savory. And then you've got too many competing factors that you don't know how to weigh. And you're just like, crap, I can't make a decision. I'll come back later. And then you never come back.
Exactly, because
It-
it's a
like-
big decision to make.
When I was working in hotels, when we had customers who would have complaints, what we were trained to do is instead of asking them what they wanted us to do about it, we would have to kind of just on the fly say, here, we can either do this for you or this for you. We'd offer them two options as to how we are going to try and make things better.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can either bring up a bottle of wine to your, we'll bring up like a bottle of champagne to your room for you tonight, or we'll have breakfast for you tomorrow. Like we'll do room service breakfast for you tomorrow and say, here's your two choices. Like we understand we made a mistake. You want this or this? And now we've offered something to them and then they choose. And as soon as they choose, now it's a lot harder for them to complain about what they get because it was their choice.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. All right, so I want to move on from the Meghan Markle thing because I don't want to be talking about it, but
We barely talked about it.
I know, but I want to move on from it. I just want to like flip, like turn new chapter. I did I wanted to share with you a video with John Oliver on Colbert because I thought it was funny. So I'm going.
When was it?
It was yesterday, I think.
Oh, okay. Because I watch a lot of John Oliver. I love him.
All right, let me see. You won't be able to see it, but you'll be able to hear it. So let me throw this out here. Anybody that's on the live can probably. Let's see. Here we go.
Well, speaking of royal wedding, I mean, you're English. You must be really excited about the royal wedding. No. Yeah. No. No, come on. I don't really. You gotta be. Really? Look, he's a Brit. He's marrying an American girl. You're British. You married an American woman. You got any tips for him? I would not blame her if she pulled out of this at the last minute. I don't think you need to have just seen the pilot episode of The Crown to get a basic sense of she might be marrying into a family that could cause her some emotional complications. But this generation seems like nice people, right? They're all nice now, right? Yeah.
This is an older clip. My bad.
They're an emotionally stunted group of fundamentally flawed people doing a very silly pseudo job. That's what she's marrying into. So I hope she likes it. It's going to be weird for her. I would not marry into the royal family. I'm a commoner. I would not be welcome, especially after what I've just said. I'm guessing probably. Could you get a knighthood? Could you get a knighthood? Theoretically, I could. Yeah. She's probably ripping that up as we speak. There we go. Insolent little bastard, you're not coming now, are you? When you see other like performers or comedians or something, if you see them get a knighthood, you go, what are you doing? What, they're just accepting it? Like if you see people who like satirize power and it's a little bit, it's just weird.
And we're losing it.
Yeah, it's fine. I think we got the message.
Yeah, no. I was dying. I was dying when I was listening to it, and
I love his delivery.
Well, yeah, and having spent some time in England, which is a great country, love England, but just I don't know the whole royal. I mean, we don't have anything like it in the U.S. We have celebrities, and that is effectively, British royalty epitomizes celebrity in the U.S. Were you familiar with Brexit at all?
Oh, it was a colossally stupid idea, which continues to be stupid.
Awesome.
I've said this for quite some time. I don't know how often I've said it on the podcast. So if this is the first time, here we go. If not, I'm sorry for repeating myself. But for easily the last 5 years, I've been saying we are living in the dumbest timeline.
Well, now
Not
that school,
the
not,
worst.
now that schools have been closed effectively for a year, I have a feeling it will get dumber.
But it's that we are living in the dumbest timeline, not necessarily the worst. Things can always get worse, but they cannot possibly get dumber. And
About that.
somehow it still manages to get dumber, but that's just because we're in the dumbest timeline. So there's only one direction to go. But when Brexit happened, all these British people were basically lied to about what Brexit was going to mean. And then they all voted. And then immediately, if you looked at like exit polls or like polls from the day after, like everyone's like, oh shit, what did we just do?
Yeah, the polls afterwards were there was a lot of people.
And like the day afterwards.
Yeah, there was a lot of people that were like that thought. I just remember hearing about all the people that voted for it that were just like, well, we didn't actually think it would happen, and we don't really. It's kind. You're right. It is kind of a very bad idea.
Like
But
we voted for it as a joke, and then like too many people were in on the joke.
oh man, but now the country it's in rough shape. I listened to I think the World News Hour or something, but there's always a bit of British news on there in the morning, and um, just bad moves for that.
Well,
country.
and it's something that like it just tanks their economy because now they're going to have all these problems trading with the largest trading partner that they have, which is the rest of Europe.
Well, that's basically what it was. It allowed them to trade a lot easier, allowed them to travel across lines. It basically made them effectively a state of Europe, like a U.S. state is a U.S.
Yeah.
A state in the U.S. And now it's like traveling out of the country is like traveling to Canada or Mexico,
Right.
or
And
any
so
other
like
country.
all the exchange programs for university students where if you were in England back when it was part of the EU, like if you wanted to do a semester in Germany or France or whatever, there was a program that very easy to apply to and you could just go and like it was kind of just an exchange program where you didn't like your tuition didn't even change. It's just all right, now you're just doing a semester in France. Have fun. And people from France could do that with England. And
Mm.
now it's just like if you're an English university student, your choices are limited to England.
England, yeah, terrible schools over there.
Yeah. Cambridge is just the worst.
um, what was I thinking? Fuck, you should be able to read my thoughts here. I went to Brooklyn today, which to me felt like visiting another country. Just culturally, it's a lot different than Manhattan. I like Brooklyn.
It's not
Uh,
Staten Island.
No, but Staten Island is a culture I think I'm very familiar with because I grew up in upstate New York, and it's a bit more emphasized. What I don't know. I feel like people who are like thick accent New Yorkers upstate are like pretending to be people from Staten Island. If that
Staten
makes
Island
sense.
I'm not super familiar with New York in terms of their perception of Staten Island.
Yeah,
So tell me if I'm right here, but Staten Island is kind of like the redheaded stepchild in New York.
it is, but it also is if you're from there, you truly believe that you're like the real New York, if that makes sense. And it's actually like I've spent a decent amount of time there. It's a nice place. It's part of New York City, so you have the perks of being in New York City. You have the public transportation, and you have more space, and you have restaurants that have parking lots, which is like not a thing in the rest of New York City. Maybe way out in Brooklyn or Queens, but it's you have more space. You have actual houses, which you have a bit of in Queens and Brooklyn, but there's just more overall space, wider roads. And you're not really on the grid system, and probably better highways in Staten Island than you have in Brooklyn and Queens. But it is definitely a different place. Whereas for the most part, Queens, Brooklyn, the Bronx, Manhattan, grid-like streets, much more urban feeling. But I don't know. I jumped on the train and dropped that to Brooklyn to buy a used laptop off the Facebook Marketplace, which went pretty well. But I came out of the train. I actually was in this huge Atlantic Ave train station, which is right near the Barclays Center, and it was like almost like being in an airport. The thing was freaking huge. There was a gazillion people there. I'd never been in that subway before, and I was like, how are 10,000 people passing me every 60 seconds, which means like literally everybody knows about this place, and I've never been here. I was looking around, just completely caught off guard. It was a cool place, and then I came up from underground, and it was like literally everything you could think of. Like there was a Shake Shack next to a Chick-fil-A.
On Staten Island?
No, in Brooklyn by the Barclay Center. Like there was just all this. I'm pretty sure it was a Barclay Center. I was overwhelmed, so there's a lot going on. But like literally every chain you could think of, ton of people are outside. Also, it was a beautiful day in New York. It was in the 60s today, so that was cool. All right, I want to we got to move on to some more stuff that we're going to talk about here.
Yeah, some substance.
Yeah, some actual substance.
All right. I want to get your reaction on this one because this is apparently a news story. Joe Biden's dog got sent out of the White House and back to Delaware, or I guess to a farm upstate, which you pick.
Well, so he bit a security guy, right?
I don't know who he bit.
I was under the impression it was somebody. It was somebody in the security, something along these lines. Somebody
Security did their job then.
CIA or something. I don't know. But the dog bit somebody. I'm curious. I'd love to have caught it on video. Is there any video of this?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right. Well, I just felt like the dog may have been provoked a little bit because this is the president of the United States dog. Like he's probably got a lot of people around him pretty often, right?
You would have to think.
You would think he'd be pretty warmed up to people. Although maybe like the president, he's getting on his ears. I don't know how old this dog is.
No, the dog's 3 years old.
Ah, all right. Well, was he a rescue?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, you know about Meghan Markle. I figure you might know about the president's dogs. I think he might be an adopted dog or something, a rescue. I don't know. But I feel like there might have been some provoking. But either way, if you're a dog and you bite people, you get shot. That's just kind of how it works. Well, you get shot if you bite babies. You get sent back to, your president's home state, I guess, if you bite adults.
I don't know. But I'd rather be shot or have to go back to Delaware.
I don't know. That's a tough one. I just don't think there's much in Delaware for me. Obviously, I would prefer Delaware. But
not by much.
By a small margin. Yeah, but I mean,
in certain parts of Delaware, you can have both.
I do think that's a funny story. I wish we had more information about it actually, because I'd love to just see it on video. I'd like to see the guy that was like playing with a dog and then the dog bit him because.
Yeah, you see the Biden presidency. He said that they were going to be more transparent with government. Yeah, we don't have video of a dog biting anybody. Another campaign promise broke.
Oh God. All right, so I posted this meme I saw the other day. It was just words, but it said something along the lines of, oh fuck, I had two of them. All right, one was sticks and stones will break my bones, but words can't hurt me. And I actually got a lot of people like just right on, like that's and then the line after that was, people now words are literal violence. And like me laughing about it. And then a lot of people were like, yeah, it's wild. That's such bullshit. But some people were like, words are violence. And I haven't really engaged a lot of maybe one, I sent a message back and I tried to kind of overly explain it. But my general thinking was, yes, words can be hurtful. Okay, fair enough. But if this is a common issue where people are saying things that are hurting your feelings, and it's happening a lot to you, I think you got to get to the bottom of that. Okay, you can't attack literally everybody else. It could be an actual something that you need to address personally, or if it is like if you're hearing it from a lot of people, it's probably something you need to address personally. All right, there's probably something going on.
Makes me think of a saying that I've heard that I really like.
Which is? If
you go around and in the course of your day, you run into one person who's an asshole, that person's an asshole. If you go around in your day and everybody that you run into is assholes, you're the asshole.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at. And bear in mind, I think people can say hurtful things, and that sucks. And I really think people are just fucking dicks. I have a sticker on the glass in my office that just says "Be nice," because people just say shitty things. But yeah, I think exactly what you said. In what I was getting at is, if you're hearing it from a lot of different places, maybe you need to do some actual reflection. However, if you're hearing it all from one source, maybe you need to address that source and be like, bro, I'm hitting you in the face with a baseball bat. But to not be able to be paralyzed and beaten down by people's words, you're not reacting the right way. And I get it, it sucks, but like, you got to figure that out. Like, don't expect people to stop talking shit, because it's probably not going to happen. So you can play the victim, or you can move on. And I'm sure, and this is a generalized statement, and I'm sure you can think of, somebody has a scenario out there that doesn't apply because something couldn't be done. But then I'll bet something probably still could have been done. I'd love to hear about somebody's scenario and try to pull that apart.
Really quick on that topic, we got any comments to address either from last cast or this?
Yeah, let me just roll through some comments real quick. This pandemic has taken the worst out of humans. Everyone is acting so crazy. Yes, that is very true.
Yep.
Let's see what else we got for comments. It's tough to monitor them now, kind of live time. You get a lot of people here on TikTok. Nobody said so. On TikTok, you can send a diamond. I don't really know what that means. I think we talked about this before, but
Don't ask me.
But yeah, sometimes people send us diamonds. It's very nice. The TikTokers are a little weird though, man. We get just people don't make much sense. When they log in. So I don't know, but a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. I'm not going to try to figure out right now. But thank you, TikTokers, for joining. Looks like Andreas is watching us. Let's see what we got. Candace said maybe not say that. I don't know what she's referring to, but probably something that we said. If you
what are the odds?
If you internalize what is being said to you, then yes.
Well, I mean, there's times where if something's said to you, maybe you should internalize it.
Sure, but depending on where you have to look at the source of where it's coming from. You have to.
Oh yeah.
You have to figure out if you value the source, and then you have to take an objective look at what's going on.
But there's a certain point where, like, if you keep on hearing the same thing from a number of different people or whatever, maybe you should be internalizing and be like, oh, okay, maybe this is something that I should be doing differently.
Yeah, and that's kind of that's exactly what I'm getting at. And maybe it's not, maybe it's not. But if you're hearing it often enough, if somebody says, hey, fatty, maybe it's time to, eat a salad and do some sit-ups. But to just get mad that they said that, like, sorry, you're just dealing with the general public. Like, you just can't expect everybody you cross paths with to fall in line with your values and just not be a dick. Like, you have to. It's one thing about being a New Yorker is you just realize people are dicks, like, up and down the street all day long. Let me see what else I got. Got in comments. Is the gun in Delaware? I don't know what they're talking about. Gun.
Oh yeah, like, if you saying that, would you rather be shot or have to go to Delaware? And then, like, you know what? There's certain parts of Delaware you could have both.
A gun,
where you could get shot in Delaware.
I'd need a lot of shots if I had to live in Delaware. Also said technically the dog did his job. I mean, maybe he was protecting the president.
No. The dog's job is to, like, slobber on people and, like, poop in a corner.
Yeah, I wonder where the dogs shit at the White House. Like, that's got to be a thing. I don't imagine they go inside. There's got to be a special section that, like, the dogs have to go outside to. And also,
You
what if
get like some Secret Service dude who's just like walking around with like a little baggie on his hand.
like I
thought I was going to be protecting the president. This is what my job is.
I'm genuinely curious right now, like what the setup is for a dog in the White House, like what kind of brain they have around the place. But
I would have to imagine that the same person that's having to pick up the dog's poop is the same person that had to like mind after Eric Trump.
they got a better job. But I don't want to dig into that because I as genuinely curious as I am, I'm not that curious. All right, let me. All right. Candace said I have some experience from a toxic source and brought into light something I did need to address, but they were coming from a good place. And the other thing is a lot of shit talking does come from bad places, and you have to recognize. I get people that come in and they get really upset with me, and sometimes I just like sit and take it. And I'm just like, all right, I have a different perspective on all this. I'm not going to argue with you. Like I'll let you be heard, and tomorrow we'll have a completely different conversation.
Well, yeah, and you have to sometimes recognize when the other party is just venting frustrations that aren't really directed at any one person.
Well, sometimes they are very much directed at one person, and those are the times that person needs to be like, well, am I the source of this frustration, or is what he's saying like reality, or is it just hurtful because this person's trying to drag other people down because they're miserable? And so, and yeah, you could say, it's not directed at somebody because it has nothing to do with them, but it oftentimes is directed towards somebody and it still has nothing to do with them. So we got a couple of real estate questions. I'll throw them out there right now. Question one was, should I buy now or wait until I'm divorced? So I guess somebody is going through divorce as if they should buy a place or not. My advice would be try to do as little financially now until everything is done.
Right, because if you buy something now, there's a chance that it could be looped in with marital property.
Yeah, obviously it depends on the court and attorneys and things like that.
But why risk it?
Exactly. So that would be my advice. Is I would just, and maybe it's a long drawn out divorce, but the question is, are you going to be unhappier living in an apartment for the next 3 years if it is that drawn out, or are you going to live the next 3 years in the house that you bought outright and then live the next 15 years over the dispute?
Right.
So I think that if you're gonna, the cautious decision to make would be to wait to buy, and also prices are high right now.
I don't see the prices going down anytime soon, though.
I think they may level off. I think
off, sure, but
I
go
think
down.
I think people will move back towards some of the cities. I don't know how things are near you. I'm speculating from New York, but I think more people will return to New York. So the prices could go down, but also the interest rates will go up. So it's
interest rates aren't going up anytime soon, though. The Fed's basically said that they're keeping the Fed rate at damn near zero for at least the next year, probably next 2 years. And as interest rates stay low, that increases the supply of capital, and you increase the demand for assets, and the asset price will increase. Because if someone who used to be able to get a $250,000 loan at 5% can now get a $325,000 loan at 3%, that just means that they've got $75,000 more buying power than they did before. And the market's going to respond where if people have more buying power, then they're going to charge a higher price.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect economical sense.
Like supply and demand. Supply of capital goes up, which means demand for assets go up. If the supply of assets stays the same, which with real estate it basically does, then if demand for something goes up and supply stays the same, price has to go up.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing.
Well, what I'm thinking is people will return to cities. And again, I don't know what the cities look like in the rest of the country, but I know what they look like in New York City. and it's just crazy. Today was one of the more crazy days for homeless people I've seen in a very, very long time. You know, remember the guy we brought on the podcast, Derek?
Yeah.
I think the title of the podcast was How Not to Be Homeless, but we brought Derek on. He said he was homeless at one point in time. He is not the type of person, mental health wise, that makes up uh, the amount of homeless people that I see in the city.
No, he had his shit together. He just happened to be in a really unfortunate circumstance, and through intelligence and hard work was able to make it out.
Exactly. And he's the type of person that people think of when they think of homeless person. Oh shucks, I'm down on my luck. I'm gonna, bootstrap it and things will come together. The people that I'm seeing are drinking flavored seltzers at 9 o'clock in the morning, playing music from a boombox, and then an hour and a half later, asleep on the ground. I was thinking today that like you have people that are literally dying in the streets or appear to be dying in the streets, and they're all on pain medicine and heroin and other shit. And the police do literally nothing. But a lady selling churros that doesn't have a license for her churro cart, it gets that ripped away from her and gets fined and
so economically, it makes sense.
Oh, she's going to pay. Yeah, economically, it makes a lot of sense. It makes just like you tax the middle class and whatever. There's more of
Right.
that.
So yeah, what's the economic benefit to the city for arresting a homeless person with a spent heroin needle in their arm lying in a parking lot?
Sure, but
nothing.
But what are police there to do? Enforce, which laws and not enforce other laws?
But you're making an ideological case, and I'm making a practical case. And guess which one wins?
Well, guess which one is winning? Your case, the practical case. You arrest the people that can pay the fines, which is when I got pulled over and harassed by the police last summer. They gave me such a hard time, and they do literally nothing to the homeless people and the people doing drugs on the street, and it's insane. But they were out full fucking force this morning and this evening, and I was actually a little scared at one point because I was in like a tunnel and there was just a couple of guys. I don't know what fucking drugs they were doing, but they were like wildly dancing and chanting, and they had shit and food all over the floor. Not actual shit, but they had food and just crap all over the floor and drug paraphernalia. And I legit thought they were going to jump me in that moment.
So what's New York's long-term solution to this problem?
A new mayor.
Okay, but what's the new mayor going to do?
We got to narrow that down. So what's a long-term solution? I could probably come up with a couple of them, but what is going to be the long-term solution? It's going to be a new mayor. And right now, there's too many to choose from. I got to catch.
So you're the new mayor. What do you do?
Okay. Well, point is, I want to see it narrow. Well, let me finish my train of thought here. I want to see the mayoral candidates narrowed down a little bit, and then I'll be able to speculate as to what potential.
I'm saying,
you're saying, what would I do? Because that's a very difficult position to be in. But my thinking is, you have to bring back real money to the city, which is, maybe tax breaks for business owners, or who the fuck knows? I don't know. I don't know the economy of the city that well, but I do know that anybody who makes any money doesn't want to do business. And that's the next question we got about real estate. So I'll get there in a second. But people don't want to do business in New York City, which means the jobs are getting shittier and the people that have the money are leaving. And the city is doing a really bad job with mental health and homeless population, and just trying to give everybody everything for free, and just different housing programs, and all, like bringing in Amazon that AOC was so much against, would have probably created a lot more jobs. And there's a ton of people that are saying they can't get jobs, they can't pay rent. Would have been a great way to get jobs, in my opinion. But we need
a complicated topic, though.
Sure, but we need more businesses in New York City creating more jobs. And the police need to step it up, and I don't think it's going to happen. I actually don't think there's a good solution for it right now, because I think the second the police put their hands on somebody that's got pockets full of syringes, and they try to neutralize the guy because he's freaking the fuck out in the street, and they touch him in the wrong way, that police officer is going to jail for life. Like, that's just how it is right now. So
Also, I mean, I don't know, also practical matter. If I'm a police officer and I think that a dude's got a whole bunch of just like syringes in his pockets or whatever, I'm risking like getting poked with a dirty syringe of drugs and or disease or both.
well, sure, and that's and that's why it's a very difficult job to do, being a police officer. But in the same breath, fuck the police, let's defund the police. And that's why it's so complex, because everybody hates the police because they're put in difficult positions and they do shit that sucks. And yeah, some of them like get off on it, or some of them are just not good people. Sure. But I think a lot of times, like, they're just scared shitless. And I don't know, the tool they have is a gun.
The biggest problem that we have with police is that we ask them to do things that they really shouldn't have to do. That they're asked to do a job that's not really within the scope of their actual position.
Well, and what tools are you giving them? A gun, handcuffs, a taser that has whatever range on it.
When you have a hammer,
that's exactly what I was just going to say. But go ahead.
You can finish it.
When the only tool you have is a hammer, everything starts looking like a nail. And I mean, that's the point. What tools are you given? And that's why, it sucks to be a police, and then also fuck the police in this, in the same breath. Like, I actually have a lot of support for the police, but then also, very many times have been screwed by the police and just are really unhappy. But I mean, it is what it is. I don't know. Let me get to this next question, because I feel like it was a bit related. The question was, what are the upsides and downsides of property as an investment? What are some things to look out for? And my instant thought just went to New York State right now is such a terrible place to invest in real estate.
Like I said 2 or 3 weeks ago.
What do you mean? Do you remember what you said?
When was it Jamie from Rochester?
Yeah, Jamie.
She was talking about investors buying into New York or whatever. I said, why would you choose to buy into a state that has high taxes, high regulation, a negative population growth, and bad weather, when there are so many other states out there that have low tax, low regulation, positive population growth, and positive job growth, where you can say people are going to move here and demand for real estate is going to increase? Why would I choose to buy into New York? Oh, and weather, and states that have better weather than New York. Well,
but that's what I was getting at when I was saying the next mayoral candidate has to address some of this. Again, it's the mayor, not the governor. So for those of you that aren't aware, the mayor is in charge of the city, the governor is in charge of the state, and ultimately kind of the mayor's boss. But the state has a lot of regulation. So whoever's going to try to turn around New York City has got an impossible job on his plate, but also crazy state regulation. So he's got to make some good city regulations. And that's kind of where I was a bit paralyzed with. I don't know what the mayor can do, because a lot of it is actual state things that need to happen. And, who knows who's going to handle that? Maybe some real estate lobby groups or something like that, which I believe Jamie might do some lobbying in real estate interest. But it's also a difficult position for her to shit on the state, because that's the state that she works in, and her business is based on real estate in New York City. I, on the other hand, own a real estate business in New York City, and I think it's a shit place to own real estate in. I recognize that. I will help you sell your home. List it with me. But
just don't listen to my podcast, potential buyers.
Yeah, no, I'm helping a buyer right now find a place. She found a really nice place, and it's close to her work. And I get that. She's not from New York City originally. It's going to be a great place for her to live. And I think she's going to be very happy there. But, all things considered, and she happens to be a business owner. But, for her, I think that's a very good move. For a lot of people, maybe not a great move right now. It depends on it depends on what you're looking for. The neighborhood that she was looking in, I didn't see any homeless people, and I think she'll have a pretty peaceful commute, and that's a good life. And as restaurants reopen, that'll be good. I'm lucky right now to have the best of both worlds, to be living outside of New York City, but be spending a lot of time in New York City, but also kind of the worst of both worlds. I have a huge commute and lots of homeless people when I get to work. So let's see. Let me see if I accurately answered that. And let's see what else I got here, because I do want to wrap up pretty quick. I got I posted also a meme, something along the lines of uh, driving the speed limit in the fast lane, um, and about how that lane is meant for crime, which effectively being exceeding the speed limit. And most people just laughed at that, but some people are like, no, exceeding the speed limit even to pass is still illegal, and you need to be
Well, yes,
cautious
but
on the roads. And
right,
but
that's technically correct, but
yeah,
also like technically correct versus practically correct. Just like the same
well,
thing with the police. Like you can be technically correct and but
yeah, again,
practically correct always fucking wins.
I wasn't even going to bring it up, but just because of kind of the bullshit nature of the comments. But we're wrapping up. I figured I'd throw it out there. Yeah, just like some people are like, thought it was hilarious and sending me all these comments back, and then a lot of people are like, well, exceeding the speed limit is dangerous, and therefore that is why it is a crime. I'm like, I get that.
Actually, exceeding the speed limit is in most cases safer than driving the speed limit.
But still a crime, still illegal.
Yeah, which is why like red light cameras and speed trap cameras to me are so onerous, is that there's kind of this tacit agreement between the public and the police that the police aren't going to pull you over for speeding as long as you're going a reasonable speed for the conditions.
Yeah.
So if you're in a 55 and you're doing 65 and everyone's doing 64 or 66 around you, who cares?
Dude,
But
I got all these not red light. I got all these speeding tickets. It was definitely 2, but it could have been 3 or 4. But this was a couple weeks from now last year. So right after the city closed, I was still commuting to the office, and I was on a motorcycle. There was no one on the streets. So I think I was doing like 41 or 39 in a 25 with no one on the streets. And I got just tickets kind of left and right. And I was like, it is what it is. But yeah, you're right. Like, how bullshit is it?
It breaks the agreement, because the agreement is the police aren't going to pull you over if you're behaving reasonably. And like if you do get pulled over, it's because you had to have been doing something that was dangerous or otherwise you stuck out. Why did you get pulled over? You drew attention to yourself in some way. Speed cameras don't have that ability. They just look at what are they programmed at? What were you doing? Over, ticket.
Tickets automatic. Yeah, it's such bullshit. But I think that's where we're going.
And that's the reason why the public is willing to accept a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit in a place that really shouldn't have it, is because nobody gets pulled over for doing 26.
Exactly. I didn't tell you this. So I told you about the new Audi. So it's a R5 or a Q5, and it's I think 2021, and it has lane assist on it.
It's weird when you try to change lanes without it and it fights you.
So you can, for the most part, just put your foot on the gas on the highway, and it will automatically stay in the lane. And then
no thanks.
Yeah, and then it is very weird. And then if you change lanes, it tries to keep you in the lane. So the steering wheel actually gives you resistance.
Yeah, no, it's weird. Like it fights you, and you're like, no, I just want to do this. And the car says no.
So, it's I was getting really mad. I was trying to change lanes and accelerate, but there was a car in front of me, and it wouldn't let me accelerate.
Can you turn these features off?
Probably, but it just started happening this week or over the weekend. So I was having fucking mental breakdown doing 85 miles an hour on the way home, which is the speed of traffic, actually. And that was another thing. Sometimes going below the speed of traffic, and I can tell you this as also a motorcycle driver, having cars whiz by you from behind is fucking terrifying.
If you're in a 55 and everyone's doing 85, you're the one who's dangerous.
Yeah, if you're doing that lower speed limit, and you are in a lot more danger by not doing the speed. And it's, I know being on the motorcycle, I'd rather only be paying attention to what's in front of me than having to pay attention to what's in front of me and behind me. I check my mirrors a lot, but still very, very, very scary stuff. All right, let's wrap up. I wanted to, I'm thinking, I wanted to maybe do a podcast episode on consent, because I just thought, remember before we started, I was like,
that's a great topic.
I was like, my computer's running really, really slow, and I don't think I gave it consent to reinstall updates. I was like, fuck, I probably gave it advanced consent. Then I was like, you know what? This is actually a good idea.
This is a great topic for two white dudes to talk about.
We can bring in some other people. I would love to. So if you're listening to us now and the new episode hasn't come out and you'd like to be part of this, if the episode on consent hasn't come out and you'd like to be part of it, shoot me a message, shoot me a DM, a PM, or an IM. And
if there were ever a topic for some diversity.
very, very true. One of the guys in the office just commented on it, so that's funny. But we'll get there. So if you're listening, you want to take part in that, let me know. I'd love to vet you and bring you on board for the podcast. You'll be on video, so could be fun, and you'll be drinking with us. On that note, James, stay on the line. All right, but I'm gonna wrap up the live. So adios. Yep. Hey, you made it to the end. Do you have an idea for an episode? I would love to hear what your ideas are. We are always looking for new ideas, and I'd love to feature you and your idea on an upcoming episode. Shoot me a DM, add a comment, email me. I'm looking forward to it. See you guys soon.
I like PBR. I just got priced out of it.